A very good morning to you. Welcome. This is the Breakfast Show, and I am your host, Lillian Thomas. How have you woken up today? How is your day coming along? How is your week so good so far? It is on a Wednesday. How is your week so good so far? As from Monday, what have you been up to? How successful has what you've been doing, or how many of the setbacks have you gotten in whatever you've been doing since the week started? Hopefully, your week has been good. My week has been good. And as usual, this is the breakfast show. We do this every morning from 8:30 to 10:30. So first of all, I'll have to apologize. We've been having again a little bit of technical challenges with our sound system, but it is sorted for now. So we are going to be having a great show till the end of the show. But we are really sorry for starting late. I know we usually start at 8:30 and it is around 9 or 4 minutes past 9. So we're really sorry for that. But I hope you're going to be having a very good discussion today. If you are watching us for the first time, kindly follow our pages on Facebook. We are at Farmers. On YouTube, we are at Farmers Media. Actually, we need more subscribers on YouTube. Right now, we are at 78. Can we make a deal? You guys help us to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the week. We will really appreciate that. If you do, we will be more than grateful. And also, you can share the link with your friends, your colleagues, or whoever you think might need the information. It will be a very good thing for you to do. So, today we are talking about agricultural diversification. We've been doing a little bit, we did a little bit of too much about sustainable agriculture, and agricultural diversification kind of falls into the same lane about sustainable agriculture. So that's what we will be looking at today. So if you have any comments, any feedback, any questions concerning the topic of discussion today, you can keep sending me your comments on Facebook. We are at a farmers. On YouTube, we are at a farmers media. Just write your comments on our comment section on Facebook, and then I'll be sampling that at the second part of the show, as I'll be giving you the quote of the day at the second part of the show as well, and the weather updates on the second part of the show as well. So it is everything is lined up for you. It is gonna be a great show. So just keep sending me your feedback, keep the conversation going. You can as well tell me where are you watching the show from. I'd really like to know. And right here on the breakfast show on Wednesday, it is usually wellness Wednesday. And today it will be all about mental health. So that is coming at the end of the show. It's all about mental health. Earlier this week, on the first day of the week, on Monday, we were actually celebrating World Mental Health Day. So today we will be talking a little bit about mental health towards the end of the show. Mental health matters, and it is very important that you are in a very good mental state. So we'll be looking at that as we will be wrapping up the show. In the previous days, we've been discussing about tomato farming, which we wrapped up yesterday. So if you hadn't watched any of our shows, you can just go back and watch the shows that we've done previously since Wednesday about tomato farming if it is something you are interested in. So we covered everything from crop production to the pests and diseases affecting tomatoes, which we wrapped up on yesterday. Yes. A quick reminder though, before we get into our topic of discussion, we still have COVID with us. It has been with us for more than a whole year. If you are getting out of the house, you are going to a public place, kindly make sure that you are wearing your mask, let it cover your nose and mouth, and regularly wash your hands, if possible, sanitize, and also maintain social distance 1.5 meters. That is the distance we are being told to observe. Make sure you are maintaining social distance. And above all, if you have nothing else to be doing outside, you can always stay indoors. So, right here at Farmers, we aim at helping you attain knowledge so that you can grow your profits. And we always want to start your morning on a very good note. And today we are starting it on a very good note, very good vibes, positive vibes. And the second part of the show, the quote of the day will be coming. But right about now, we just want to get into the topic of discussion today. And it is a really short topic, but you can as well, with your feedback, we can make it very productive, and you might get something out of it at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we aim that you learn something from it, something that will help you in your agricultural production. Sawa sawa? So today we are talking about agricultural diversification. Diversification comes from the word diverse, okay? So being diverse is actually a state whereby you are not concentrating in one thing, you are actually concentrating in more than one thing. That is what it means to be diverse in layman's language, okay? Being diverse is concentrating in more than one particular thing. So you are working with almost two, three, four, whatever the number is, but it is not a single thing. That is actually what we mean by being diversified. We've always said that since we started having our shows right here, the Breakfast Show, we always remind you agriculture is the backbone of the world's economy. It is the backbone of the world's economy. But you have to remember, when we were covering something on sustainable agriculture, we said right now our population is at around 7 billion, okay? By 2050, we aim at having 9 billion people in the world. So by 2050, we aim at having 9 billion people in the world. Right now, as at now, we have close to 750 million people who sleep hungry each day. So there's a thing of whereby we are not food secure, so we have food insecurity in the world. The food insecurity can be accounted by the fact that we are making a lot of post-harvest losses. A lot of food is being wasted and food is being lost along the way. It doesn't get to the consumer. We actually did a show on that, food loss and food waste. You can actually go back and watch it. So yeah, it is on our page. So you get that we are losing food. Food is being wasted along the way. The food never gets to the consumer. And if we are to be able to feed the 9 billion people we will be having in 2050, we actually need to be producing like more than 50% of the food we are producing as at now. And there's the thing, you find most people who do agriculture concentrate on one thing. You remember when we were talking about sustainable agriculture and we were trying to see how can we sustain our agriculture such that by the time we're getting to 2030, first we have zero hunger in the world. Remember, that is one of the UN SDG goals that we have as at now. We aim at attaining zero hunger by the time we are getting to 2030, and we can only do that through sustainable agriculture. And we said sustainable agriculture is the type of agriculture whereby it is a long term thing that we are doing, but when we are doing it, we are keeping in mind our environment, the social equity of the people, and the economic viability of whatever we are doing. And when we were looking at it, we looked at things like conservation agriculture as a way of achieving sustainable agriculture. Today, I want to look at agricultural diversification as a way of trying to help us attain sustainable agriculture if we are to be able to attain zero hunger by the time we get into 2030, and to actually be able to feed the 9 billion people we will be having in the world by the time we are getting to 2050. That is our main aim, that is our main purpose. If you are very keen and you look at most of the farmers that you know, you find you walk to a farmer's farm and the farmer is plainly growing maize, or you walk to another person's farm, they only concentrate on tea. You walk to another farm, someone is concentrating mainly on coffee. And then now we have an issue of agricultural diversification. Agricultural diversification now comes in whereby you are shifting from actually concentrating on one thing, like one part of agriculture. So if I was only doing maize production, I am shifting from only doing maize production and involving other activities in the plant. So it can be either including other crops. Maybe I decide I'll be doing maize and beans, or rather, I can decide I am doing agriculture, like production, like more of farming, and then I get into keeping livestock, keeping animal. Like you are not concentrating on one single thing. And agricultural diversification helps us in achieving economic growth in the country. So we will just go into it and actually explain what agricultural diversification looks like, how it is done, what can you improve on, what are the reasons that you need to be, that actually makes us have a need for agricultural diversifying, and we can actually look at the problems you might find when you diversify your agricultural production. So that is what we'll be looking at today. So just keep sending me your feedback on Facebook. Write your comments on our comment section. Just tell me where you're watching the show from. I know there are people tuned in. Tell me where you're watching the show from. And you can as well tell me your thoughts about our topic of discussion today. Tell me what you think about agricultural diversification. How do you think our farmers in Africa can diversify their agriculture? What do you think they should get into? What is more viable right now, more specifically because I am talking to people in Africa. So more specifically to people in Africa. You can let me know what you think will work for you and what won't work for you. So just keep sending me your feedback. I'll be sampling that on the second part of the show before we get back into the discussion. Again, and remember it is Wellness Wednesday. So we'll be talking about mental health a little bit as we wrap up the show. You can as well tell me something about mental health if you want to. I'll be more than glad to read your comments. I don't mind reading them. So just keep writing them on our comment section on Facebook at our farmers. So we've had traditional agriculture whereby you found most people were just doing agriculture to sustain their families, okay? So they are doing it, it's more like a subsistence form. You are just producing to feed your immediate family. But when we are getting into agricultural diversification, we are shifting and from actually you doing this traditional agriculture and we want to commercialize it. So you are moving on to the commercial sector and you are doing this by shifting the traditional agricultural products and making sure you are producing high standard products that can actually get into the market and help you earn some money from it. So the when we are looking at agricultural diversity, it can be in two ways. One, you can actually be it can be in terms of the cropping patterns. So when we are talking about the cropping patterns, it's about the crops you are growing. If you are entirely doing maize in your field, when you decide to diversify in agriculture, you can decide you'll be doing maize and you will add another crop. So maybe I will add beans, or rather, I will add maybe vegetables in my farm, or rather, I will accommodate it with maybe fruit trees. That is diversifications in terms of the cropping patterns. But the second part, you can actually diversify in terms of getting involved in other activities that are not necessarily farming. So these activities can include you getting into animal husbandry. Maybe you decide you want to keep livestock. So apart from you farming, you have your farm whereby you are growing your maize or something. You decide that you are going to be keeping animals. So let's say you keep poultry, or rather you keep poultry or cows or goats or whatever you find convenient for you. So you are keeping them and they help you in production because look at this scenario. You are having crops growing in your farm and then you have animals also in your farm. So you have a cow. A cow is helping you to produce milk. You have poultry. They are helping you get actually meat, the white meat, and also you can get eggs from them. So you can diversify into other activities that are not necessarily farming. So one of them I've said is animal husbandry. The second one you can actually get into is fisheries. You can decide, you can include fishing as part of your activities. Apart from you doing farming, you can actually get into fishing. Now, fishing will depend. Maybe you have a river nearby that has fish, or a lake nearby that has fish, or rather you have oceans nearby that have fish, so you decide to get into fishing as a way of increasing the activities that you are getting into. And remember, we are doing it for commercial value, so you get into these activities to increase in the economics that you are working on in your activities. So you can get into fisheries. You can as well decide that you are actually going to establish a fish pond at your place. Conrad Kibe once, I think was 2 weeks ago, he did something on fish farming on the Farm Drive show. You can as well go back and watch that. It was a very informative show, so you can as well watch that if you are thinking agricultural diversification is a thing that people can be getting into in order to increase their economics, and also in order to help us in achieving sustainable agriculture for this world, attain food security, be able to feed the people. By the time we are getting to 2050, the world population should be having enough food, and also try as much as possible that by the time we are getting to 2030, we are actually having zero hunger in the world. You can do that by diversification. So you can as well decide to start a fish pond at your place. Decide you are getting into fish farming, and you can always do that. If you don't have the capital, you can always get credit and loans from the cooperatives we have and stuff. So it is a way of actually diversifying your agricultural production. There's a very other interesting thing, because for so long, especially if you look at most African countries, you find most people actually they deal with cereals. So you find the population that actually, even like a smallholder farmer, most of them you find that they are growing maize in their farms. They have millet, they have sorghum. Most of them actually deal with the cereals. So for the people who are doing vegetables, are very few. You find that it's more like a kitchen yard for your own production. So these people aren't usually doing it for commercial production. And you find most people who are doing what actually we have less people who are doing horticultural production. So I am talking in terms of vegetables, fruits, and nuts. We have aromatic spices. Actually, yesterday Conrad Kibe was also talking about coriander production. Coriander is a spice. So we have all these things getting into horticulture. It is one way in which you can actually diversify your agriculture. Considering that we have most people in Africa who are actually getting into doing a lot of cereal production, they are doing a lot of maize production and stuff. You can decide to diversify and get into horticultural production, get into vegetables farming. Earlier this week, actually from last week, I've been doing something on tomatoes. You can actually get into that. Yesterday, Conrad Kibe did something on coriander production. It is a way of diversifying yourself. You can as well get into fruit production. So Conrad Kibe has also done a show on has avocados. So we have avocados, we have mangoes, you have passion fruits. There's a lot of things you can actually get into as a way of diversifying your agriculture. And it is very important that we do that so that we are able to actually achieve sustainable agriculture, attain zero hunger. I usually say there's nothing that actually saddens me as have you ever looked at the photos that are always posted online of starvation cases we have in Africa? The hunger cases we have in Africa. They usually use like a very little kid's photo. The kid doesn't look well, the kid looks malnutritioned, maybe he doesn't even have clothes on, he is barefoot. It's actually a sad state of affairs. It is not a very interesting thing to be watching. It is not the world we want to live in. I keep saying make this world a better place. Agricultural diversification will help us actually attain food security, achieve sustainable agriculture. It will be increasing even on your returns. We are trying to make this world a better place. And as a farmer, it is one way that you can actually use to make this world a better place if you can and if you'd like to. Especially now for this second part of the diversification, whereby you are getting into other activities such as livestock rearing. You can decide to do agroforestry. So I've talked about fruit farming, but you can decide to get into agroforestry. Have trees in your farm to help you around. I told you, trees actually help in the climate. And considering right now that we have a very big shift in our climate, trees will do you a great deal when you have them in your farm. And also, you find that in this actually second part of diversification, there is more use of farm machinery, a lot of machinery. So it is more industrialized, which is a very good thing and a very easier way of actually production. And that is what we are aiming at. Make production easier, produce more, we have more food in the world. We make the world a better place by having food security. And then we won't be having these cases of hunger and starvation that we keep seeing in maybe Turkana, Mandera, Wajir, especially the northeastern region of Kenya. It is just a whole headache. You look at the conditions we have in Turkana, Marsabit, it just disturbs your soul. So diversification can be the way to go in order to help in solving some of these problems that we have. I would like us to get into the reasons why we would actually decide to get into agricultural diversification. So we'll just cover that and then we'll go on a break and we will come back and look at what are the factors that actually favor agricultural diversification. And then we will be wrapping up at the benefits of agricultural diversification and the impact of agricultural diversification. So I want to get into the reasons that are actually making us to get into agricultural diversification. But remember, you can keep sending me your feedback on our comment section. Just write your comments on our comment section about agricultural diversification on our comment section on Facebook at our farmers. I'll be looking at that on the second part of the break, on the second part of the show, right after the break. And you can as well tell me where you are watching the show from. I know I usually have a lot of people, especially from Nigeria, Zambia, watu wangu watu 54. Hey, my home people. By the way, mmenitupa, by the way, I'm not complaining ata. Mmenitupa sana. You can just tell me where you're watching the show from. And give me your comments about agricultural diversification. If it's something you are doing, you can tell me what you engage in. I'll be sampling that in a few. And I will remind you again, today is Wellness Wednesday. And today it is all about mental health. As we are approaching the month of May is usually more of mental health awareness. So I just want us to start it right now, even before we get into it. And because we had the World Mental Health Day just recently, so I'll just be doing a little thing on that. We'll just look at what we need to be doing for us to be mentally okay, especially with this COVID-19 pandemic. It can take a toll on us, so it is very good that it is very wise if we just have a look at that. So I just want to get back to my discussion. I am going to be looking at the reasons for diversification in agriculture. So we've talked about in because we when we started our discussion about sustainable agriculture. If you didn't watch the show actually, just go back on our page. I think when you click on the our farmers page, the first thing you will see is the show on sustainable agriculture. You can just go back, watch it, and get where we started it from. And before that, we actually did climate smart agriculture, and we realized we actually have been having a very great shift in our climate in the recent years, especially the last 30 years. Our climate has really shifted. It's not the same climate we had in the 1980s or in the 1970s. Actually, even right now, when we are in 1921, When we are in, sorry, did I say 1921? Oh my God. Pardon. So in 2021, if you look at the conditions we have right now, they are not the same with the conditions we had in maybe 1991 or 2001. We have really shifted. And I did another show on disasters in agriculture. And just recently, right here in Kenya, we had the Kenya Red Cross Society telling us that we might be experiencing drought in some parts of the country and actually getting floods in some parts of the country. This is as a result of the climate change. So right now we are at a place whereby things just happen. In one day, boom, we are flooding. In another day, we have droughts. You are not always assured of harvesting whatever you have. And this is where diversification comes in, such that you don't lack something at the end of the period. Imagine maybe you are growing maybe maize. Maize requires more rainfall as compared to sorghum, okay? You are growing only maize and then we have drought. What do you expect to be harvesting at the end of the period? Nothing. You won't be having anything to be harvesting. But if you had decided to diversify and you had another crop like sorghum in your farm, as much as you won't harvest maize, you still have sorghum to be harvesting. Or rather, maybe you still have livestock. Livestock can actually always, if you have cows, maybe they will still be giving you milk. If you have poultry, maybe they'll still be giving you eggs. That is why diversification is important because we have a very great climate change and you are not always assured of getting produce from whatever you have grown. The climate can always shift and different conditions, different crops thrive in different conditions. So, in order for you to be assured of getting something at the end of the day, just in case of anything in the climate, just diversify your crops in the farm, diversify, and include other non-farm activities that actually can work under different conditions. It will be good for you. Another reason for us getting into the agricultural diversification would be to increase the employment opportunities that we have. Let's say we are getting more into fishing, okay? Fishing is actually creating employment for you and maybe for other people that you will be needing maybe in your fish farm if you have a fish pond. In the maintenance of it, it creates employment opportunities for people. We don't want to be, we always say, if you are relying on one source of income, you are just a step away from being poor. Just a step, like a little slip heavy, and you are poor. Poverty and you one side. Like mtu hawezi watenganisha by the way. No one can separate you with poverty. You and poverty one side. So you have to be having like different things that you can actually rely on in terms of employment and in terms of getting you income. So I have talked about climate, I have talked about employment. The third thing is actually to reduce the risk of earning from agriculture. So this comes back into the thing of where I have related climate change. So maybe something happens and then there's a shift in climate. Maybe we have floods or we have droughts and maize hasn't grown. That means you won't be harvesting any maize, okay? If you are not harvesting any maize, you are not making any money from the maize. What will you do? What will you do? How will you make money at the end of the day? But the moment you actually diversify, you might always get something to take to the market. And then at some point, you always find the market prices are always fluctuating. So if you are growing maize only, and then you find at some point the maize you are growing at that time of the period, you are actually selling maize at 2000 per bag, low value. But if you had another crop boosting you, you can actually make more returns from what you are supposed to be making. So we are going to be going on a very short break, but when we come back, we'll be looking at factors supporting agricultural diversification. We'll be looking at the benefits of agricultural diversification. And later on the show, we will be finishing at the impact of agricultural diversification. You can be sending me your comments. Tell me where you're watching the show from. Tell me what you think about agricultural diversification. Just write them on our Facebook page at our farmers. Just write them up of a comment section. Alafu, when we come back from the break, we will be looking at that. And after the break, we are coming back with the positive, with the quote of the day. I always say this is the place of positive vibes. Start your morning on a very good note, on a very positive note, because it is very important that you start your day right. And that is what we do right here at the Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we are going on a short break, and then be back in some few minutes. So just make sure you are staying tuned in. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in less time than you know. Just stay tuned.
My name is Stephen Kasie, an agronomist. You are watching us from a farmer's media. Here at the farmers, we help you in the identification of crop pest diseases and nutrition deficiencies in crops for your successful farming. So if you want, I want to give you more information about the crop pest diseases. You can follow me in the farm to get more information from me. Hello farmers, today is another fine morning. We want to take you through about traditional African vegetables which are indigenous, and as you can see, indigenous vegetables do want more management, or these things like spray fertilizers, like exotic breeds, which requires more management and skills. If you go to the village, you can get people improving their living standards using these indigenous vegetables. You can get a woman in the market selling these vegetables because the management is not that hard or is not that expensive. So they improve their living standards and earn income and their daily bread via this one, and they get better salaries and whatever they want from the farm. You can get that they are having a small piece of farm like this, and they utilize all the space, putting different varieties and different types of indigenous vegetables which help them. Even these vegetables have a medicinal impact to our lives. As you can see now, I'm at pigweed. We can start with the pigweed. Pigweed is an indigenous vegetable which most farmers, or which most people use it because the management is just cheap. It doesn't require more management skills and that technical skills to manage it, but it do well, and the soil variety varies from A to Z, but this crop do well in different and various soil types. Here, as you can see, you have cotton soil, which the variety that we have is soft, and a soft pigweed, which do well, and we read something here, and we are happy to take you through this and help you on how you can earn. Many people think that these things are weeds, and I want to assure you that many people who uses these traditional vegetables, they are more healthy than those who uses meat uh, the exotic vegetables that use chemicals. These indigenous crops are good for our healthy. So I will urge all of you to enroll into this business, to utilize their farms that are useless, to ensure that they are getting something from their farms. So as you can see here, harvesting, we have seeds. This pigweed has seeds, and you can harvest till you see the seeds come out, and you can pick the seeds dry and ensure that they are not dispersing. You put in an enclosed container to ensure that they are not dispersing from the point you are just gathering them, uh, to ensure that you are just getting a good population in your farm. Sowing the seeds, you can just broadcast your seeds. After making a bed, you can broadcast your seeds into the soil and ensure that there is irrigation water to ensure that there is germination. But it doesn't require more moisture or more water, and it doesn't require waterlogging areas. It doesn't require much water to use it because it is tolerant to drought and on the sun. So I will urge you to do this pigweed farming. It doesn't require a big farm. Many people who produces this pigweed, they do on a small scale farm, but they earn more because it is a long-term crop, which it takes long before its life goes off.
A very good morning to you. Welcome back. This is the Breakfast Show, and I am your host, Lillian Thomas. I am so glad that you've joined me here today for this discussion. Today, we are talking about agricultural diversification. That is what we started on before we went on the break. We are glad that you are here. Keep sending me your feedback on Facebook, on our comment section. On Facebook, we are at our farmers. You can write your comments on our comment section, and I'll be looking at that just in a few. But as usual, as always, we always start with the quote of the day. The quote today says, "Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. We have a scenario whereby you find people, we are actually wired differently. There are people who you will find that whenever they fail in something they are doing, they tend to give up, okay? And then we have other people who you will get at some point, they fail again, and they keep actually moving forward. They never stop at where they are. And it is actually an aspect in life that we need to really imitate. We have to get to a point whereby, in spite of failing and making mistakes, we need to get up and keep moving. You don't stay at the same place where you were because you failed. That is just it from me today about the quote of the day. Just have that in mind. Whenever you are going out, success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. So make sure, even if you are failing as much as you are, maybe in the past, the things you've been doing have been failing, things have not been working out, you are not at a point whereby you are supposed to give up or stop doing whatever you are doing. You just need to keep moving. Yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and we were talking about something. It's something we are actually doing, so we were trying to reflect on how we are, the steps we are making in terms of career wise and the life decisions we are making. And I remember we said something about, we have no room for failure. We have no room for failure. It, like, you have no other option other than make it or make it. Like, that is the only option you have. Make it or make it, excel or excel. So when you fail, just know you have to excel. Like, how no option. You don't have that option of actually staying there and being content that I have failed, so this is where I am staying. No, you don't have that room. The room you have for is make it or make it. So you fail, you have to strain and make sure that you are making it at the end of the day. That's the only way you will be successful. Actually, it is a mantra we agreed on. Like, it is something I always say, it's something I'd work with. For me, there is nothing like giving up. Giving up is never an option. It is never an option. It will never be an option. It should never be an option. Like, hata if haikukuwa kwa vocabulary, it shouldn't exist anywhere. Giving up is not an option. Make it or make it, just make sure things are working out. Fall, rise up, fall, rise up, continue working. At the end of the day, make sure you are achieving whatever you need to be achieving. So that is it from the quote of the day. That is the positive vibes that we are having for this day. Make sure you are rising in every situation and you are actually doing well in everything that you are doing. So I want to look at something a little bit of the weather, and I am going to be looking at two particular counties, and then I'll be looking at other counties as from tomorrow. So we will be like breaking them. It is more of a general weather forecast that we have. So for today, I'll be looking at, for my people in 254, because I know people are watching me from who are not from 254, but for people in 254 and in the Kakamega County. So for Kakamega County, it includes Mumias, Kakamega, Butali, Lugari, and Likuyani. For this week, 27th April to 3rd May, you are expected to be having heavy rainfall over many places, but it will be decreasing towards the weekend. So towards the weekend, you'll be having fewer rains, and then you are expected to be having night and morning light rains, and then the afternoon temperatures will be ranging from 27 to 29 degrees. That is what you expect generally for this week. And then for the Trans Nzoia County, You are expected to be having sunny intervals in the morning throughout the week. So, sunny intervals in the morning throughout the week. And then the afternoons are expected to be having moderate showers over a few places, especially from Tuesday to that day. So, till tomorrow, you might be having showers over a few places and light rains in other places. Light rains are also expected over a few places at night on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Monday. The rest of the nights will be partly cloudy. So that is what you are expecting in Trans Nzoia County. And also, let me just give for Vihiga County. For Vihiga County this week, so it is for a whole week, so 27th April to 3rd of May. 27th April to 3rd of May. For Vihiga County, in the mornings, you are expecting sunny intervals throughout the period. In the afternoons, you are expecting showers and thunderstorms over many places. And then in the nights, you are expecting light rains and partly cloudy. The maximum temperatures you expect in the region is 27 to 29 degrees, and the minimum temperatures is 17 to 18 degrees during this week. Tomorrow, I'll be telling West Pokot what they expect and what other region? Yes, I'll be telling West Pokot, Isiolo County. So I have several places I'll be covering tomorrow in Yamira County. So make sure you are staying tuned in for that if you really want to know what you are expecting in your weather as from this side of the region. We are going to be looking at we are going to get back into our discussion about agricultural diversification. But before we do that, as usual, I always go back to reading our comments on our comment section. And I have Mother Mohammed. Mother Mohammed says, "Good morning, Lillian. Good morning, Mother Mohammed. How is Mombasa? How is County 001? I hope you are fine and you are having a fantastic morning. Thank you so much for tuning in for the show. I don't think you ever miss watching any of our shows. And we are glad that you are always watching our shows. I have Tony Hillary Tonista. He says, "Wow, amazing. Let me watch." Yes, Tony. Thank you. We are glad that you are finding our shows to be interesting. Thank you for tuning in today. Tony Hillary also says he is watching from Arumaje. I don't really know where Arumaje is at, but you can as well let me know where Arumaje is at. I don't think I am familiar with the place. And then I have Nora Sikazindu Mutesi. Wow, an interesting name. Quite an interesting name. So Nora Sukazindu Mutesi says, "Good morning, watching you from Zambia." Hi, Nora. How are you doing? I hope your week has been fine. Thank you for tuning in. I don't think I have seen you in my comment section before. Welcome to the show. This is the breakfast show, usually running here from 8:30 to 10:30. And then I have Hamza Shebu Hamza Shehu Binji. Okay. She says good. She or he, I'm not even sure. Says good morning, watching from Nigeria. Thank you so much, Hamza, for watching the show. We are glad that we actually have people from Zambia and Nigeria tuning in to our show. And I think we usually have actually most of people watching from these two countries, actually three countries, Kenya, Zambia, and Nigeria. And we are glad that you are always tuning in for the show. You can as well keep telling me what you think about the topic of discussion today. And actually, if you are still joining us right now, don't be shy. Just write your comments on my comment section. I'll be sampling that in the last part of the show. I always sample all the feedback I get on my show. So tell me where you're watching the show from. Tell me what you think about the topic of discussion today. We have talked about success being moving from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm as our positive vibe of the day. You can actually even tell me something about it today. And on Wednesday, it is usually Wellness Wednesday right here on the Breakfast Show. And I said, we are getting into the world, we are actually getting into the mental health awareness month. So I'll just be telling you something a little bit about mental health. So make sure you're staying tuned in for that as we wrap up the show. But let us just get back into our topic of discussion. Today we have been talking about agricultural diversification. So let me slow down. So we said agricultural diversification is actually when one person decides to get into focusing into more than one agricultural activity. So we gave an illustration of a person who actually does, let's say, only maize. You plant only maize. You can diversify it by getting into other crops and decide you will be growing several other crops in your farm. Or rather, you can actually diversify by getting into other activities that are not farm activities, so more like animal husbandry. We've mentioned fisheries, and we've also mentioned actually getting into horticulture farming. Okay, we've said you can actually do it in two ways. You either change your cropping patterns, so by increasing the number of crops you have in your farm, or actually from farming and diversifying into other activities. We've also looked at the reasons why we would be getting into agricultural diversification. And we said we can do that because of the climate change we've been having around in the world. We can do that in order to create employment. And we also said to reduce the risk of earning from agriculture because of the fluctuating market prices. We usually have a consumer demand, a lot of things that happen in the market. So in order to be able to curb that as a farmer, you can as well decide to get into agricultural diversification. But have it in mind. Have it in mind. It is very important that you have it in mind. It is actually a way of helping us to get to sustainable agriculture. And we've said we are aiming at actually attaining zero hunger by the time we are getting to 2030. That is actually the second SDG goal that we are working with. The UN gave us the 17 SDG goals, and the second goal was zero hunger. So by 2030, the world is supposed to be attaining zero hunger. By the time we are getting to 2050, we want to ensure that the world is food secure. And I will remind you the statistics again. Right now, we have close to 800 million people who sleep hungry each night. Because we have food insecurity in the world, less food is being produced. We also have, what else do we have? Less food is being produced. We are losing and wasting food along the chains before it gets to the consumer, or we are actually wasting it after it has gotten to the consumer. So at the end of it all, we still have starvation cases and hunger cases. And it tells you there's nothing that saddens me other than seeing those, little creatures, photos of people who are starving, people who are going hungry. Do you remember a story I told you when I started my discussion on sustainable agriculture? So we did a whole week of sustainable agriculture 2 weeks ago, right? It was the week before last week. We did a whole week of sustainable agriculture on the breakfast show. And if you remember the first day I started on sustainable agriculture, I told you a story about a woman who had to pick, who had to survive in terms of her or the kid, because they had less food and less water. And this woman decided she would survive, the kid wouldn't. And this woman decided to abandon the kid in a forest to die because she thought, I don't have food to give you. I can't breastfeed you. You can survive without water. I don't want to see you suffering. I'd rather leave you in a forest for you to die and go back. For me, I can try and survive. We want to eradicate these cases. We want to get to a point whereby we don't have people making such hard decisions, whereby you have to choose who will live and who will not live. That's not the world that we are supposed to be living at. Considering we are in the 21st century, we have the technology with us. We have everything working out for us. So if we are still at this condition, it is wrong. It should not be happening. We have several factors. So, like our main aim is make sure we are attaining sustainable agriculture that can sustain the world, ensure we have food security, ensure we have zero hunger. I will repeat that again. We actually did a whole show on zero hunger on the breakfast show. You can as well go back and watch that on our videos if you missed the show. That is what we are aiming at with these. So today for me, this is how I understand agricultural diversification. We are getting into more activities that will help us. As a farmer, you have more produce. So if you are getting into producing more than one crop, you are assured of achieving actually more production. You are getting into livestock keeping and you have farm produce, you are actually, it is more productivity for you. If we have more productivity of what the world needs to consume, we are reducing on the hunger cases we have, we are actually getting to sustainable agriculture. So we have several factors that are actually influencing us into agricultural diversification. So let's start with the consumer demand. You find the demands of the consumers are always changing. The consumers want different things day in, day out. So today you might find the consumers want mangoes. You will get into mango farming because the consumers want mangoes. The consumers want spinach. You will get into spinach farming because the consumer demand is has shifted towards spinach. But you see, the good thing with the consumer demand, you are assured of market because it is the consumers who have already decided this is what we want. So you are assured of market. So the moment the consumer demands dictates this, you getting into agricultural diversification is easier for you. If they want more eggs, you can actually get into poultry farming and produce the eggs. You find that the conditions you have are favoring you doing the agricultural diversification that you really need to. The change in technology is another factor actually influencing people getting into agricultural diversification. It is another factor supporting actually agricultural diversification. You see, technology is making our work easier. Okay? And the world we live in, actually, I don't think if there's a person who would want to do things the hard way. No, if you find an easier way of doing things, you'll most probably do it. And with the machinery we have around and the technology we have around, you find that they are favoring because it makes easier to get into some of these activities. Like you look at the way right now people practice poultry farming, it is easier as compared to how they used to do it a long while ago. So you find the technologies that are coming around are actually making more people decide to get into more of these diversification programs we have, like more of the diversification activities we have in agriculture. Let's talk about the trade and the government policies we have. So I remember, I think with the new team that has come in our farmers, I think one of the first shows that was done right here by Conrad Kibe was on agricultural policies and laws. And we looked at the kind of laws we have, especially more so right now in Kenya. So I don't know about the laws in your country, in Zambia or in Nigeria or Sudan, wherever you are watching me from. But you find the policies we have, the government policies we have in the country really influence a lot. If they are favorable, you find more people engaging in agricultural activities. But if they are not favorable, people shift from agricultural activities. Just yesterday, I was listening to a conversation on a certain station, and this conversation was about coffee. The conversation was about coffee, and they were talking about how at some point in Kenya, coffee was among the major cash crops. And then it got to a point where the farmers realized they were making losses out of it because of the policies they had around how everything was working for them wasn't favorable. So you found most coffee farmers going back to their farms and cutting down the coffee. Like they cut down their coffee and decided, now we are done with this, we are getting into doing something else. So you actually find that some of the policies we have around really influence how things are done and how people get into activities, agricultural activities that they do day to day. If we have favorable activities, favorable policies supporting us getting into horticulture farming or us getting into poultry farming, it makes it very easier for people to actually diversify their agriculture. So the trade policies and the government policies really matter a lot. And the last thing that I think actually support agricultural diversification would be infrastructural development. So let me talk about something like I want to engage in horticulture farming. Okay? Horticulture farming, maybe I am growing my maize, but I really want to get into horticulture farming. And when we did something about food loss and food waste, we realized actually most of the produce we lose most so in Africa and the third world countries that we have is usually between the link between harvesting and getting to the market. So we make a lot of post harvest losses in between. And these post harvest losses were accrued to the factor that we have very poor infrastructure. So the roads are not good. We don't have good transporting vehicles. We don't have the conditions we need. Like for horticulture produce, you need very cold conditions. You need the fridges. We don't have that. So the moment you think of getting into horticulture production and you remember the conditions are not favorable for you in terms of infrastructure, it will hinder you from getting into it. But if they are favorable, you are actually you can easily get into it and you can do it in a very very good way. So it is one thing that we need to work on as countries, as nations, as the government. They are things that we really need to work on if we really need people to diversify into agriculture. So we are going to be taking another short break. When we come back, we are wrapping up this discussion and we are wrapping up this discussion with benefits of agricultural diversification and the impact of agricultural diversification. And we also have the Wellness Wednesday, and we are talking about mental health today. That is why we will be wrapping up the show. So we are taking a short break. We will be back in a few. Don't go anywhere at all.
Mic check. Unanisikia? Is my sound okay?
Stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You are on air.
Join me, Conrad Kibe, on the Farm Drive every weekday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. right here on A Farmers Media, where we tell you the story of an African farmer. We give you COVID-19 updates, and most interestingly, we give you the pan of the day. Follow us on all our social media platforms at A Farmers with a Z at the end on Facebook, and definitely A Farmers Media on YouTube. See you there. Allah. Allah.
One of the most important activities on our farms is scouting. Why is it important? Because you get to know what is affecting your crops on a daily basis. Join me, Noah Nasiali Kadima, every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., where we guide you to attain knowledge and grow profits.
Are you a farmer facing challenges in your farm? Pests, diseases, or even unsatisfactory produce? Worry no more. The solution is here. Join us every Tuesday on Diagnostic Tuesday, where we talk about various issues affecting agriculture and interacting with experts with knowledge in different sectors of agriculture to provide you with appropriate solutions, giving hope to farmers to attain better yields, to achieve financial success and development. Our farmers attain knowledge and grow profits.
As we quickly progress from agriculture to agribusiness, market is key. As we bring to you Market Watch, a show that covers candid discussions regarding the state of the market. Tune in and let's turn our farms into businesses.
A very good morning to you. Welcome back to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Lillian Thomas. We have been doing this from 9. It is now a quarter past 10, and we are almost wrapping up the show. This is the last bit of the show. Okay, so we were discussing today about agricultural diversification, and we've looked at what agricultural diversification is, the reasons why we need to be getting into agricultural diversification, and we've also looked at the factors that actually support agricultural diversification. At this last juncture of the show, we'll be looking at the benefits of agricultural diversification and the impacts of agricultural diversification. That's what we will be looking at before we finish the show. So, on our second part of the show, I did for you the weather updates, and we also looked at the quote of the day, positive vibes as usual, from right here on the Breakfast Show at our farmers, and also sampled your comments. But I always say again, you can keep writing your comments till the end of the show, and I'll be sampling them. So just do that on our Facebook page, on our comment section. Do it on our Facebook page. We are at our farmers. On YouTube, we are at our farmers media. And then a quick reminder, by the way, we have like 78 followers, subscribers actually on YouTube. Can you kindly help us get to 100 by the end of the week? We will be more than glad if you do. And hit the notification bell as well. Every time we go live, you will always be notified, right? That is a good deal, right? Yes, make sure you do support us. We are glad that you keep supporting us on Facebook, but you can also do the same for YouTube, and we will be more than glad when you do. So I have a very quick update that I just got when we won the break, and I think I should just do it for the sake of people out here. So it is a weather update, a very quick update that I want to do for you. So we have a flash floods alert that has just come in at 9:55. So yeah, we have a flash floods alert, and it is valid from 28th April 2021 to 1st May 2021. Okay, so till Saturday, the flash floods are likely to occur in areas bordering Ethiopia and Kenya, and it is as a result of expected heavy rainfall of more than 50 millimeters per 24 hours over the Ethiopian highlands that may cause outflow to the neighboring catchments in Mandera, Marsabit, and Wajir counties. So be aware that in Mandera, Marsabit, and Wajir counties, you have a flash floods alert from 28th April 2021 to 1st May 2021. And you are advised, residents in all the mentioned areas are alerted to be on the lookout for potential flash floods that may occur in places where heavy rainfall has not been received, and especially in areas which are known to be water paths for the neighboring Ethiopia. I hope you have heard that. So people in Marsabit, Mandera, and Wajir counties, you have a flash floods alert, and it could be because of high rainfall in the neighboring Ethiopia country. So make sure you are keeping safe. It is very important that you do. That was the quick update I had for you concerning the weather. So I go back to where we always start on our shows each and every single day. Our positive vibe for the day is usually a quote of the day that we always tell you in order to start your day on a very positive note. Our quote today says, success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. I've told you, you don't have an option of giving up. It will never be an option. It should never be an option. It should not exist in your vocabulary. Never, ever. That is not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you don't have that chance. You are either succeeding or succeeding. So I am not saying that you don't have room for failure. You have room for failure, but you don't have room for being stuck in failure. There is no such room in this place. By the way, if you're watching me, by the way, I always advocate, you don't have room for failure. You don't. You have room to fail, but get up. You don't have room to be stuck in failure. It is not an option. It will never be an option. It should never be an option. Okay. So whether you are failing, maybe you have failed in some few things. Sometimes we fail in life. Wow, terribly, like terribly failing. But it's part of life and it is normal. It can be understood. It is bound to happen. You can't always be succeeding. But never ever get stuck in failure. Move on with the same strength that you had when you were starting whatever you were starting. And then I have to remind you one thing: we never start things we never finish. You have to finish what you started. So there's nothing like giving up katikati eti because you have failed or the road is getting tougher. Doesn't happen, not right here. Not if actually you're subscribing to what I'm saying, to what you are watching this show. It doesn't happen. You don't have that room. You are either excelling or excelling. Okay, sawa sawa. Just have that in mind. Get up, get up, get up. If you have failed, get up, rise up. Keep moving. Make sure you are moving with the same strength you had towards succeeding. Sawa sawa. That is good for you. So we want to get back to our topic of discussion: agricultural diversification. And I told you we will be wrapping up in these two subtopics that are actually almost similar, but that's what we are looking at before we wrap up the show. Sawa? The benefits of agricultural diversification. So before we went on the break, we discussed what agricultural diversification is, how you can do it, reasons why you need to be getting into it. And one major reason I will tell you, actually two. One is climate change. Two is employment. By the way, the economic times are hard, especially right now. Kwanza with the COVID pandemic, what the economic times are harder than they have ever been before. Sawa sawa. You need to find a way of making that extra income, and you can't make that extra income with one method of like maybe you doing only maize production. You can never make that income. We need more income. Agricultural diversification could be the way out for you. And then the climate change. The climate is shifting. You need to make something at the end of the day. You can't always rely on one day, on one thing, just in case. I always tell you, disasters strike in the most unexpected time, in the most unexpected way, and they make the most unexpected losses. If you watched my discussion I had last week on Monday, I did something on disasters in agriculture. If you missed that, make sure as we are getting to the weekend, hey Banas, you just go back and watch my shows. By the way, I do some amazing stuff right there. So you can just go back and watch what we did, the discussion we had on disasters in agriculture. Because we have this thing, the climate shifts, you can just have a disaster striking, and at the end of the period, you still need food, you still need something on your table, you need to make something economically out of it. We say the main essence of agricultural diversification. We are shifting from traditional agricultural production into a more commercial thing, and we are not concentrating on one activity. Sawa sawa. So the benefits of diversification. One, you have additional employment opportunities. If you get into more activities, you are increasing the employment opportunities that you have. It can be for yourself, so self employment. You are self-employed in terms of your farming activities, whatever you are doing. Maybe you are growing vegetables, and then you decide you are going to increase your activities by getting into farming, into fish farming, or into poultry farming or animal husbandry as a thing. Okay, you get into it, you are increasing your employment opportunities. At some point, if it grows, you are increasing the employment opportunities for people you will be having in your farm or whatever you are doing, helping your activities around. So, additional employment opportunities is the first benefit. The second benefit, hey, who doesn't love money? By the way, for me, I always say money is a good thing. You see, the way people always say, like, money is the root of all evil. Hey, by the way, me, I want the whole tree. Me, I don't even care about the root. Me, I want the whole tree. If I can get the whole tree, it is okay as much as it's the root of all evil. Me, I want the whole tree. I don't mind having that much money. It is important. Money is important, especially in the world we are living today. So the second benefit of agricultural diversification is having higher levels of income. I told you, you are a step away from poverty if you have one single source of income. So if your only source of income is maize production, you are a single step away from poverty. Single step, heavy. If a disaster strikes, you're done by the way. You have nothing in your farm, you have nothing to be selling in your markets. Like it is done for you, it is a done deal. But now imagine you have maize production, you are into fish farming, you have poultry, and they are giving you eggs. A disaster strikes, and you can still be selling your eggs. uh The income is increased. Now imagine a scenario whereby you don't have a disaster, so you have your farm produce, and then you have your other extra activities that you have, maybe fish farming, poultry, you're selling eggs. This is double money you are getting. Who doesn't like money? I do. Personally, I do. I also think most people do. Higher levels of income, they help us in a long way considering the hard economic times we are having right now. You have more produce you can always be selling. You have maize, you have beans, your agricultural productivity is increased, meaning you are getting more money than if you could be doing one activity. Okay? Yes. The third benefit of agricultural diversification, you reduce the risk of agricultural sector. So the risk here we will be looking at in terms of the climate change. So you remember the thing I said about climate change? Sometimes a disaster strikes and then you might make losses because maybe you're not harvesting anything. You can't be able to sell anything. You reduce the risk from agricultural sector. I remember when I started the show and I said sometimes you find a disaster strikes. Let's say we have droughts, but as much as you're growing maize, you also have sorghum in your farm. So as much as there's drought, sorghum will still do well because they are drought tolerant, or millet. So at the end of the day, the risk that you could be having of making like 100% loss is reduced because you still have some way of actually making money from whatever you are doing. Sawa sawa? So you reduce the risk from agricultural sector. There's also a matter of the market prices. The market prices are always varying, either going high or going lower, depending. But if you have several things you are dealing with, if maybe the market price of maize has gone lower and you are still doing something in vegetable farming or horticultural farming and the prices are still stable, you find at least your risk of losses are a little bit minimized. So the risk from agricultural sectors is really reduced when you actually decide to diversify your agriculture. Yo, when we talk about money, and I've said me, I want a whole tree of money. I don't know people who are saying about only the roots being evil. Me, I want a whole tree. And then all it is, there's nothing. Oh, yesterday I watched something. Okay, this is by the way, I was watching a certain video, and a certain lady was like, "You can't be broke and happy." I don't know how true that is. That depends wholly on you. I don't know how true that is. But this lady was saying you can't be broke and happy. Those two things don't go together. The moment you're broke, you are sad. And you need money to be happy. I don't know how true that is, but that's just a by the way. But have you ever realized broke people are usually wanakuanga na hasira, very angry people. You are broke. Ay, 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 ay. But look at yourself some days before you get your salary. Like you don't have money, you are struggling with transport, you are struggling to seme with getting food on your table during that time of the month. My friend, if anyone messed with you at that time, they wouldn't like the version of you they will get. I find the broke people to be angry, but that's a stereotype. Don't take these as what a farmer said. That is particularly what Lillian Thomas said. So that is what I think for me. But when you are making a lot of income, so this fourth benefit, it is it helps us overcome poverty. When you have increased income, you can improve on your standards of living. You can make your life better. It actually helps in improving the livelihoods of other people, the livelihoods of other farmer. You reduce the poverty levels. Trust me, if you get more money, you can't be living in the same shanty conditions that you were living in. You always upgrade kidogo kidogo. Kipata kamshara vizuri, you increase your salary kidogo, you move to a better estate, That's how it works. So it helps in overcoming poverty, and the poverty levels in Africa, actually in most third world countries, the levels are not very, very, very good. So we just want to get to a point whereby we are reducing the poverty levels. I said, Aki, if you're living in this world, it should be a very good place for you to be living. So if you can do that by reducing vitu ndogo ndogo kama poverty, because poverty is not a good state. I wouldn't like to be poor when I grow up in the next how many years? In the next 6 years. I wouldn't want to be poor. It is not something I would like to do. Actually, me and poverty are like water and oil, but that's just it. So those are the benefits of agricultural diversification. So I want us to look at the impact of agricultural diversification, and that is where we will be wrapping up our show today. And then I remind you again, it is Wellness Wednesday. And I told you for Wellness or Wednesday, what will we be looking at? We will be looking at, what did I say we will be looking at? We will be looking at mental health. Oh my God, my brain is not functioning. It's time to wrap up the show. Yes, we will be looking at mental health. We are getting into the Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think it's very important that we share something a little bit about mental health. So I'll be sharing it from my perspective. You can as well reflect about it from your own perspective. So that's what we'll be looking at as we wrap up the show. But the impacts of agricultural diversification. We have talked about employment. We will have increased employment in the country, in the world, in the region, and we have varied types of employment. So, if we are getting into more activities, let's say we are getting into poultry and fish farming, we have varied types of employment for people, for ourselves as individuals. The second thing will be better livelihoods for the farmers. The moment you are making better incomes, greater incomes, you can always improve on the living standards that you have as a farmer, because you can actually upgrade your life. So, better livelihoods for the farmers. It's time we got from this scenario of having farmers living in very poor conditions, especially for people who have always done the traditional farming. Hey, that's why we are doing agricultural diversification, for you to improve your livelihood, earn more income, increase your economic viability. Sawa sawa. Yes, that is why we are doing that. And then the moment you are diversifying, you find we are having sustainable usage of the resources we have around, from water to land to soil. Sometimes you have to reuse these things. You become very careful in whatever you are doing. That is the discussion we had for today about agricultural diversification. I am really sorry for that. About agricultural diversification. Tomorrow we are looking at another topic just as we wrap up this week. Hey, by the way, the week is coming to an end. Yay, the weekend is here. By kuna what weekend inaanza leo. Hey. So yes, so right about now, I want to add, you see, right now we have COVID around, okay? We have COVID around, and it has been with us for more than a year. And we are still going on with our activities day in, day out. So if I am talking to you, I assume you are a farmer or you are in the agriculture industry and your activities are going on. It is very important as we do our activities right here and right now, each single day, that we are actually keeping safe, and everything we are doing ensures that we are actually not contracting this disease. Okay, so I had a little discussion with a guest I had in studio some time back, Stanley Osawa. Stanley Osawa is one of us here at our farmers, and he's actually more into the agricultural production. And Stanley Osawa, the discussion we had, he was telling us about how they are actually making sure that the people working in the farm are staying safe from COVID. So you are going to be watching a video right about now about the discussion we had with Stanley Osawa about the precautionary measures we need to be taking in our farms and in our farm activities. And then when it is done, so we will be wrapping up the show with our mental health awareness kidogo. It is Wellness Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. But right about now, Sarah is actually putting up the video of what we did with Stanley Osawa. Kindly watch that before we wrap up the show. This is Lilian Mora and you're watching A Farmers. On set today I have Stanley Osawa. Hey Stanley.
Hi, William.
Stanley Osawa is a farmer and he will be talking to us about COVID-19 precautions and farming activities and generally in the agriculture industry. Stanley, how are you?
I'm fine, William.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good, it's good. Sanitize. Welcome to the show. Thank you. Stanley is a farmer. He's been doing farming for quite a while, and COVID-19 over time since last year and this year has had very great impact in our agriculture industry. And I'd like Stanley to tell us what they've been doing in their farming activities to be able to take precautionary measures either for him and their workers. And Stanley, I'd want to be more specific. Let's start, like, you have employers, they come to the farm. When they come to the farm, what do you do so that you can ensure that you maintain all the precautionary measures and ensure that all your employers are safe from contracting COVID-19? Maybe we can start from a point where people are getting into the farm, and then when they're doing the farming activities, and then the last part you can maybe tell us what they do before they leave the farm as they are headed home.
Okay. Thank you again for your chance. My name is Stanley Osawa, as she has said. Okay, actually in the farm we have a lot of issues. First, in the morning we have employees there, and as we know at this time there is COVID-19 which has affected most industries, but we are privileged that agriculture is one of the essential services that is still left. First, with the employees, at least we protect them not to get into COVID-19. First, for the employees, we'll make sure they sanitize before they get out of their residential areas where they stay. When they get to the farm, in the farm there are those farm inputs that they use. We have the jembes, pangas, machetes. Yeah. Actually, I think maybe you have a disinfectant there where you will spray almost these farm inputs before you go to the farm. While in the farm, let us put precaution. I know wearing mask in the farm is hard.
It is quite hard, I know.
Yeah, especially maybe when someone is weeding, because when you're weeding, you'll need more of air, breath.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know it will be hard, but at least let us just wear a mask. At least you can just take 2 minutes to breathe in the air, then again wear it, because we don't know actually with the disease at what time does it spread. When you leave the farm, kindly wash your equipments, sanitize them, keep them safely, then spray the area with disinfectant. Thank you.
And I think for a farmer who can be able to afford, maybe you can try and get equipment that's such that people are not actually sharing the equipment. It makes it easier, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, actually the employees should also know their equipment. You should not share your equipment with another employee, because you know me, you don't know what other employee touched or came into contact with. Yeah.
And as the employees leave from work, they have to disinfect before they actually leave the
Yeah,
place.
actually, as a farmer, or maybe as an employer of that farm, you should have a designated area where you have the disinfectant, so that everyone who goes to the farm or after the farm should disinfect themselves before getting to their official access.
And it is very advisable that we ensure that all the employers and employees in the agriculture industry are actually safe from contracting COVID-19. And as you have heard from Stanley Osawa, they are keeping their precautionary measures kept by the government. And we want every other farmer out here, any other employee working in a farm, make sure you put on your mask, you sanitize, you keep the social distance, ensure that everyone is safe from contracting COVID-19. I have been your host, Lilian Mora, and keep tuning into A Farmer's Life. Thank you. Welcome back to the Breakfast Show. I have been your host, Lilian Thomas, since we started the show at 9 o'clock. It is 41 minutes past 10. So we have like 19 minutes to 11 o'clock. We've just had a discussion that we had with Stanley Osawa about COVID and how they are protecting the farmers in the farm from contracting COVID. Okay. So since COVID has been with us, right here, we always do the COVID updates for you each single day. As at yesterday in Kenya, we had 511 positive cases out of a sample size of 4,020 cases. The positivity rate was at 12.7%, and the recoveries are at 467, and the deaths are 22. The numbers are quite high. They are not going lower anytime if we will not keep the precautionary measures. As Stanley has told us, keep the precautionary measures that we have been given by the government. As you go out, make sure you are putting on your mask, you are washing your hands, and you are actually keeping social distance whenever you are in public. If you have no business being outside, you can always stay indoors. Very, very important. And I will keep reminding you, my people, in the 5 countries we have in Kenya: Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu, and Nakuru. Make sure that you are in the hurries by 8 p.m. The lockdown, we have a lockdown. We have a curfew that starts at 8 p.m. in the night. Make sure by 8 p.m. you are in the night. You don't want to be caught up in the madness that happens around by sleeping on the road. You don't want that to be happening to you. So make sure you are actually doing that. So I told you, on Wednesdays, right here on the Breakfast Show, it is usually Wellness Wednesdays. And Wellness Wednesdays, today I'm not even telling you about a crop you can consume to help you gain this and this. No, today I'm not doing that for you. We are getting into the Mental Health Awareness Month. And today I will be telling you something about mental health. So let me give an illustration of myself. For so much, I struggle with anxiety attacks. Very, very much. Always worried about this, about that, about that, about that. And you find in several times, it kind of affects how I function. So you find my productivity might be going down. My moods may be a little bit unstable and everything else. This is a form of a mental struggle that I have, okay? So I suffer a lot from anxiety attacks. And I don't know, especially right now with the pandemic around, many people might be struggling with mental challenges. Kidogo too. So either you might be finding you are a little bit too stressed than the usual, mainly because the economic times are hard and you're really struggling to make ends meet on this other side. Maybe at work you are having too much pressure, and it is taking a toll on you. You have kids you need to be taking to school, and you are thinking kids need to be going back to school on 10th of May, and you're really struggling with fees, and sometimes it might take a toll on you. One thing I always say, one thing that I found to be working for me, gratitude. So I'll give you like three to four things. So gratitude. Each and every single day, I try to find something that I am grateful for. So much so that it makes me to dwell on the positivity. I don't really dwell on these negative thoughts so much. So always find something you are grateful for each single day. You can find maybe your health, something good that's happening in your life. Find something to be grateful for. The moment you focus on gratitude, you easily move on past as the day. Second thing, so I was telling a friend of mine yesterday about the anxiety attacks I have been having this week, and they've been taking a toll on me. And he told me one thing, Lillian, live a single day at a time. So one day at a time. It is hard because we are always worried about next week, next month, but try as much as you can to live a single day at a time. So focus on today, focus on tomorrow. Once that is done, now you can focus on the next day. Don't bombard yourself with all these other things that you need to be doing for the rest of the days. It will actually take a toll on you. So live a single day at a time. The other thing, try as much as you can to breathe. Try as much as you can to breathe whenever you feel you are overwhelmed. Whenever you find that things are taking a toll on you, you are too worried, you are too stressed, you can't think straight. Try as much as you can to breathe. Breathe, meditate. Breathe, meditate. I always say, take a deep breath. Like, relax too. Try to focus on something else such that you don't focus on your thoughts. Try to breathe. It will help you a lot. And meditation goes quite a long way in trying to help focus you. The fourth thing, journaling. So for me, I write a lot. I write a lot. It is one thing I have been doing since primary, around class 8. I write a lot. And every time I feel like I am stressed, I will either write something, an article, or rather try to write my thoughts down. It helps refocus your thoughts. You get to understand the mental state you are at that particular time. And it will help you think about it and see what you can shift about it. So if you can try to journal at the end of the day, write what you had in mind, what happened. It will help you refocus and shift your thoughts from one to another, and you can be able to identify where the problem is and what is not working for you. Also, find the last thing that I will tell you, find an activity that will take your attention away from whatever is either stressing you or actually taking a toll on you. So for me, during weekends, I actually like taking walks a lot. I take a lot of walks. When you are taking a walk, listen to music, find something you can do that is actually shifting your mind from these particular thoughts into something else. Okay? If you can, please do that. If it is watching a movie, please do that. If it is going to volunteer somewhere and you are busy playing with the kids during the weekend in a children's home, if it will help you focus, kindly do that. Your mental health should be a priority. And if you are in Kenya, I'm not advertising for these particular organization, but I have seen and I know of people who have actually used it and it's working. You can always write whatever is stressing you at bonga.or.ke, and there will always be someone trying to sort you out. Okay, find a friend to talk to, channel your thoughts out. Find a friend to talk to, channel your thoughts out. You're not an island. Don't die worrying and being stressed with your thoughts on your own. Find someone to talk to. You will do good. And remember, always remember, the sun will shine again. The sun will always shine again. The sun will always rise again. In spite of everything happening around, the sun will always rise again. It always sets, but it always rises again. Okay? That is one thing you have to be having in mind. And it won't always rain. It won't always rain. Sometimes it does shine very bright. Okay. Mental health is a priority. If you are really struggling with your mental health, I would try doing whatever I have told you. But then you can just tell me how it worked out for you. You can actually even tell me on my page. I am Lillian Thomas on Facebook. And you can tell me on your page if you need someone to talk to, by the way. I am a very good listener. I might not always offer you the advice you need, but you can tell me, you can channel your thoughts out, and we can see what you can do about that. So, mental health is a priority because I know personally I struggle with it a lot, and I know there are people who are struggling with it. If you are really struggling with your mental health, try and do the things I have said. Learn to breathe, meditate, find an activity that you can do that you like that will shift your attention. You can as well try journaling and see if it can refocus your thoughts and get you into a place where you can think clearly and you can understand the level of your thoughts, where they are, and try to live a single day at a time. That has been Wellness